There is a massive misconception in the Canadian real estate market that your retirement and registered funds are locked away behind a glass wall, untouchable until you retire. Today, I'm going to shatter that myth, and I'm going to show you how you can legally use your RRSPs, TFSAs, even your locked-in LIRA accounts to fund your next down payment, renovate a property, or literally become your own bank. But there is a catch. Not all registered accounts are created equal. While you can use your RRSPs almost for everything, LIRAs and RIFs and LIFs have completely different rules. So today I'm going to show you 5 strategies on how to utilize your registered funds in real estate. My name is Dalia Barsoum. I'm the founder of Streetwise Mortgages, a multi-award-winning mortgage brokerage, and I am a 2 times recipient of Canada's and Ontario's Mortgage Broker of the Year award. Welcome to the Streetwise 10, where I answer the top real estate money questions I receive from real estate investors. Let's get started. Let's start with the most efficient way to enter the housing market. That is the house hack. Under a house hack, you can use the Home Buyers Plan, HBP, combined with the First Home Savings Account, FHSA. You likely know that you can withdraw up to $60,000 from your RRSPs tax-free for a down payment, but you can also combine that with the FHSA, which allows you to save and withdraw an additional $40,000 tax-free. That gives you a total of $100,000 tax-free capital per person to deploy. It is critical to know that this strategy is only for RRSPs and FHSAs. You cannot use your LIRA, RIF, or LIF under this program. These funds are strictly locked in for retirement income. Now, you might be thinking, Dalia, I already owned a home years ago and I can't use this strategy. And this is actually a misconception, and I want you to write the following down. Write down the CRA's 4 years rule. Under Canada Revenue Agency's rules, the definition of a first-time home buyer doesn't mean that you've never owned a house in your life. It means that you haven't owned and lived in a home as your principal residence in the current calendar year or the previous 4 calendar years. So if you have never owned a home in Canada, or let's say you sold your previous home and you've been renting for the past 4 calendar years, and you fully repaid your old HBP plan or loan, the CRA resets the button. You are officially considered a first-time home buyer again. This means that you can open up a brand new FHSA account and use the RRSP Home Buyers Plan all over again for your next property. If you do qualify, the rule requires you to occupy the home as your primary residence. But here's the thing, it doesn't limit you to a single family house. You can buy a duplex or a triplex or a fourplex, and you can occupy one of the units and you can rent the other units. This way, you're essentially living mortgage-free or close to mortgage-free because someone else is paying your mortgage. The other thing that you need to be aware of under this strategy, under the Home Buyers Plan, is that the funds don't necessarily need to go all towards a down payment. You can use the funds towards the down payment, the land transfer tax, and the closing costs. Once you provide a qualifying purchase and sales agreement and the money goes into your account from your registered account, this capital is available to you for the closing costs and the land transfer tax and the down payment. Also, if you forgot to withdraw this money before closing, you have a grace period. You can legally make your withdrawal up to 30 days after the closing date to replenish your savings. Now, let's talk about strategy number 2, what's called the non-arm's length mortgage. But first, let's clear some terminology. In real estate, a non-arm's length transaction means that you are dealing with someone related to you. That could be a family member, or in this case, yourself. This strategy is exactly that. You're actually lending money to yourself from your registered account, and you are becoming your own bank. The question is, why go through the effort of doing this? And the primary reason here is because you can control the interest rate that you pay your registered accounts within limits that are set by CRA. Basically, they say that you have to stay within the market rates, and there is a ceiling on how far you can go. So instead of you negotiating a loan with a bank, right, and paying the bank thousands of dollars, you are negotiating a loan with your registered account. You're choosing the interest rate and you're choosing the terms. And the interest rate that you pay your registered account is growing tax shelter, and it does not eat into your contribution limit. That's the beauty about it. To do this legally, however, there are 3 critical factors you need to be aware of. The first one is that the RRSP, or the registered account, needs to be administered by an approved administrator. You can't simply cut a check to yourself from your account. You need a specialized trust company, is what they're called, like Olympia Trust or Canadian Western Trust, to oversee your registered accounts and to make sure that you're making payments in time and according to the agreement that you initially set up with your registered account. Number 2 is mortgage insurance. Remember the time you purchased a primary residence with less than 20% down and you had one of the mortgage insurers add a mortgage insurance to the loan, like CMHC or Sagan? It's the same case here. The mortgage or the loan that you're borrowing from your registered account or RRSP has to be insured with CMHC or Sagan. And it doesn't matter if, the loan to value on the property that you're buying is less than 80% or more than 80%. So the equity doesn't matter. That mortgage has to be insured. So that's an extra cost that you have to account for. And number 3, and that's where the friction is with this particular strategy, is because a mortgage insurer is involved, guess what? You actually have to qualify to borrow that money from your registered account. And to qualify, we know what it's about. They're going to look at your income, they're going to look at your credit. You have to fit that mortgage insurer's box. So that's typically where the friction is. You need an administrator, you're going to pay extra, and you have to qualify to borrow that money from your registered account. Now, here is where it gets powerful for sophisticated real estate investors. Mortgage insurers like CMHC or Sagan will not insure a rental property that has got a single unit, but they would insure a rental property that has 2 or 3 or 4 units. So it can be a pure rental. You don't have to live in any of the units, and that type of property is insurable. Now let's talk about some important benefits you can unlock for yourself when you lend money to yourself from your registered accounts. And I highly recommend that you speak with your accounting advisor regarding this. Let me show you an example. Under the setup, you can unlock something called the dual tax benefit. So you're borrowing from your registered account and you're using that loan to buy a rental property that has got 2 to 4 units as mentioned. The interest that you pay your registered account, one, is accumulating within your registered account tax-free. That's the first benefit. The second benefit is that because you are borrowing money to invest, the interest on that money is tax deductible according to CRA. Again, it is super important that you consult with your accounting advisor when it comes to these mechanisms and to make sure that you are fully compliant with CRA's rules if you choose to utilize this strategy. While strategies 1 or 2 are great for your RRSPs and TFSAs, strategy number 3 is where you can use all of your registered accounts. That includes your RRSPs and TFSAs, but also includes your locked-in LIRAs, RIFs, and LIFs that can finally shine here because you could not use them, for example, in the house hack strategy. Strategy number 3 is what's called an arm's length private lending. That is lending your registered funds to others who are unrelated to you, essentially strangers. You're finding borrowers who are looking for a mortgage on a piece of real estate, and you're lending them money from your registered accounts, essentially becoming their bank. By utilizing this strategy correctly, you can significantly improve the returns in your registered accounts. So if you've got money here that is earning low returns for you, sitting in mutual funds or sitting in GICs, by lending your registered funds to borrowers in the form of private mortgages, you can earn anywhere from 8 to potentially 16%. The return is going to be dependent on the risk involved in the deal, but whatever return you earn is going to be tax sheltered. And when you are a lender, you don't have to pay a mortgage insurance. So there is no CMHC or SAGN involved here. Before we talk about the risks involved in lending your registered funds, I'd like to clear up 3 questions that I get from real estate investors on how this actually works. First, you do not need to liquidate your investments to do this. You only need to open up a self-directed RRSP account or a registered account, and you move your money from your current financial institution over to that account. So you're not, getting a tax hit, and you're not liquidating anything. You're maintaining the tax shelter status of your registered funds. Second, you can combine accounts. Let's say your current RRSP account doesn't have enough funds to lend on a mortgage. You can combine money from your RRSP and from your TFSA and from your other registered accounts, or you can combine money from your accounts together with spousal registered accounts as well. Thirdly, the position of the loan you're lending matters. You can choose to lend on a first mortgage or a second mortgage, and I strongly advise against lending on anything that is higher than that, like third or fourth mortgages, because the risk is exponentially higher. But here is the key to becoming a bank using your registered accounts. You have to make sure that the risk is managed. I highly invite you to connect with a qualified mortgage advisor who understands private lending, or your real estate lawyer, to ensure that the money you're lending is structured the right way, that you are getting the full due diligence when you're lending your money. You're getting to see the appraisal, you're understanding the borrower, you're understanding the loan to value, and most importantly, you're understanding how you're going to get your money back once the term is up. So due diligence is super important. Do not treat these loans as a casual loan to a friend. You want to make sure you also got the right agreements in place. This is why we launched a dedicated new division at Streetwise Mortgages. If you want to be an active lender and you need professional due diligence and professional support, you can visit privatemortgagescanada.com. Our team helps investors source private lending deals and opportunities that are specifically suitable for their individual risk profile. And we conduct heavy due diligence on these deals and help you structure the loan and manage the risk, and also understand your exit strategy. And if you're lending with your RRSP or registered accounts, we will help with the coordination and setup with the trust companies like Olympia Trust or Canadian Western Trust, so you don't have to navigate that paperwork alone. Now, let's completely flip the script. We talked about you being the bank, lending your registered funds to others. But if your registered accounts are maxed out, or let's say you need capital to grow your real estate portfolio, strategy number 4 is about you borrowing other people's registered funds. And right now, there are millions of dollars sitting in Canadian RRSP and TFSA accounts earning negligible returns or minimum returns in mutual funds and GICs. So if you're a real estate investor, you can tap into this massive pool of capital to finance your own deals. But why consider this over a standard bank loan or an institutional private lender? Two words: flexibility and cost. Because you are negotiating these loans directly with individuals who are looking to lend their registered funds, like joint venture partners or colleagues or family members, perhaps, you can structure a true win-win scenario here. You can often negotiate, for example, the loan to value. You can go above 80%. You can negotiate the payment. You can pay an interest-only payment versus a principal and interest-only payment. You can negotiate the interest rate, and you can negotiate the frequency of the payment. And your lender that is lending you the private registered funds will also win because they're earning these returns in a tax-sheltered account. Having said that, you cannot just ask your lender to cut a check from their account over to you. To execute this correctly and to be on side with the Canada Revenue Agency rules, a couple of things need to happen. Number one, the lender must transfer their funds into a self-directed registered account. Number two, an administrator is required to oversee the account, such as a trust company like Olympia Trust or Canadian Western Trust. And number three is professional underwriting. You need a qualified mortgage broker to help you underwrite the deal. This ensures that the mortgage is structured the right way, that risk is managed, it's protecting your interest and the lender's interest, that the value is there, that there is an exit strategy for both of you. So if you have a partner or a family member who is willing to lend you their registered funds and you're looking to structure that professionally and be truly compliant, reach out to our team at Streetwise Mortgages. We handle underwriting and we coordinate with the trust companies everything that you need to make this setup seamless. Alternatively, if you don't have your own capital partners, but you're looking to utilize and tap into registered funds from other investors who are looking for excellent deals, we can help you with that as well. You can connect with our dedicated private lending team at privatemortgagescanada.com, and we will match you with the right capital partner, and we will help you both structure a winning deal. If strategies 2, 3, and 4 sound like too much work, then strategy number 5 comes in. That is the passive alternative, which is investing in a fund. This typically involves investing your registered capital into a mortgage investment corporation or a GP, LP type of fund that buys real estate or lends against real estate. So instead of you finding a borrower, underwriting a mortgage, and managing the ongoing paperwork, you simply buy shares or units in a professionally managed fund. And typically that fund pulls money from multiple investors, and you can get in at a lower ticket price. Okay, you don't have to put in $100,000 here, for example. That's the beauty about the funds. Some of them allow you to get in with as low as $5,000. So you may have $20,000 and you can lend some of it here and the rest in other funds, and essentially diversifying your money pool. Depending on the fund, you can get paid monthly or quarterly or semi-monthly or annually, and you're still earning your return in a tax-sheltered fashion within your registered account. Despite the diversification and benefits of investing passively in a fund, there is a huge difference between lending your registered funds into a managed fund versus lending directly on a piece of real estate. Despite the diversification benefits and the passive nature of investing in a fund, there are some key differences in terms of risk when you choose to lend through a fund versus lending directly on a piece of real estate. And here are the key differences. Over here, when you lend through a fund, that fund takes the money and invests it into the real estate in the form of a mortgage or to acquire properties. If the deal goes south, you have very little control over here to recoup your money. You really have to rely on the fund manager to manage the risk for you. Where over here, when you're lending your money directly, you have direct control. You are on title. Obviously, you got to be very careful, as we talked before, about the rank of your mortgage, because the first lender gets paid first, the second lender gets paid second, and so forth. So depending on your rank, you get paid if something goes wrong here. But you do have more direct control because you are on title. If we were to do a title search, we would see your registered account registered here on title. This is why in this strategy, it is super, super important to pick the right fund manager that has a proven track record, and for you to understand what are they investing in and to do your diligence before buying units in the fund. So whether you have an RRSP or a TFSA or a locked-in registered account, you have options in real estate. Our philosophy at Streetwise is do not leave your hard-earned capital idle when you could be utilizing it to build your real estate empire. If you're ready to put these strategies that we talked about today into action, here are your next steps. If you're a first-time home buyer and you're ready to house hack, or you're an investor looking to structure a self-directed loan, book a complimentary strategy session with one of my team members at Streetwise Mortgages. We will help you build a plan and stay fully compliant to set that up. Alternatively, if you are looking to earn a tax-sheltered return through lending your registered funds, or if you need to borrow private capital for your next real estate deal, connect with our dedicated private mortgage team at privatemortgagescanada.com. You can find both of these links in the description of the video. Now, if you've got value out of this episode, please hit the subscribe button, like the video, share it with another investor to be of service. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next episode. And for now, stay streetwise.